Republicans are gearing up to confront the major dividing issue inside the party right now, and that is abortion, as they prep for the official party platform. It's supposed to be adopted as part of the GOP convention later this month. In fact, the clash has already begun, and here is the issue. Will the platform endorse a national ban on abortion, which it has for years, or will it change to reflect Donald Trump's current view, which is that abortion laws should be left to the states? Joining me now is Marjorie Dannenfelser, the president of Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America. Thank you.
Don't worry, you're not the only one
being here. No, you can call me Dana the entire time. Tell me the current status of what the debate is right now, and whether or not you think, as somebody who believes that this should be a national issue, not a state's issue, where it will end up.
Well, I can tell you where I hope it will end up. We know what the president's position is, and that is that the state is the frontline battle and that it should only be there. And so he does take issue with what the party platform has been for 40 years since Ronald Reagan. Our view is don't mess with what's been there for 40 years. Yes, of course, pursue the approach that you think that you should, but don't mess with that. And the reason that I say don't mess with the 14th Amendment justification for any type of federal legislation, not just a complete ban, but say a 15-week limit or a 12-week limit or a 20-week limit. That language is justification for federal action. And if you take that away, it is very demoralizing to the people. For instance, for over the last decade, we've reached 30 million homes, and we know these voters in the battleground states. We know that they support the people that we're reaching are not necessarily the diehards. They really support these modest kind of middle ground consensus measures. And that is a perfect contrast with the view of Biden and the Senate Democrats who are running in those battlegrounds. So to take that away is really demoralizing to the energy, the excitement, the youth that are involved in going and doing this work in every battleground.
So what you're saying is that you're not just coming at this from the stance where you're completely anti-abortion.
Yeah.
You're coming at it from the stance politically, strategically,
yes,
from the idea that if a woman is living in a state with no exemptions, really strict bans, that it would be better for them to have a national ban that at least has some exceptions, and abortion is not till 20 weeks.
Well, the federal minimum standard that we have been trying to get accepted by the party and used as an important thing to run on has been a minimum standard. So a baby at 7 months in California has the same rights as a baby at 7 months in another state. So that's a minimum standard. States can go further than that, but they would at least establish that place. That contrast makes sense to most people, not people who are in the rabid pro-choice side and the excited pro-life base, but it's a consensus, and that's where we are in this nation post-Dobbs. That's what I think we're required to do, focus on saving those lives, as many as we can, and serving women.
How about the process? Because I have heard complaints from people in your camp about the fact that the people in the Trump campaign have been taking those who want to keep a national ban in the GOP platform off the platform committee.
Well, we are closed out, so I can't tell you what I think is going on. It's very, very difficult to know. We've been lobbying for what we want. Nobody wants to be closed out. It's the first time it's happened in anybody's memory. It is the prerogative of the president, former president, to do this as he wants. I don't agree with how it's happening, and I wouldn't agree with changing things up and causing a problem where there shouldn't be. But that is the reality of what we're dealing with. What we don't want to communicate to our voters and to voters in the middle is that there is no job that can be done in Washington to address this on a national level, on a minimum standard level. That would be a bad communication, and it would be demoralizing.
So you're shut out of the process?
Yes.
Just to be clear, because I hope I didn't confuse our viewers with my question to you, your stance is a national abortion ban. You call it limits.
Yeah, I mean, I, of course, am pro-life. I believe that life begins at conception. Also, I know that we're at a place in our country to build consensus. So the national limit, 15 weeks with exceptions, is such a moderate and modest.
And that's what should be in the platform?
That would be a great extension of that fundamental language. That fundamental language is a 14th Amendment justification for any legislation. That should be retained.
So you would be happy if there was a support for a national ban at 15 weeks with exceptions for the health of the mother, rape and incest?
Yes, as long as that language stayed intact that appeals to the 14th.
So I checked in with the Trump campaign, Chris LaCivita, to be specific, before this interview, to get a sense of what they're saying about this notion that you're shut out. And here's what he said. It's the natural way of conventions that the leading campaign ensures it has supporters in those roles. This is Donald Trump's convention, not Marjorie's.
Well, he's exactly right, and he gets to do what he wants. And of course, we don't like this. I am not the head of the party. The pro-life movement is not a function of the Republican Party. It's a one-cause 14th Amendment press. It's the human rights movement of our day. We are not Republicans first and pro-lifers next. So it's all what Republicans do will determine what we do. Now, let me tell you what we are going to do. It is still a contrast. We're still in those battlegrounds. It's just a plea from the outside to the inside to retain that language and the heart and soul of the pro-life movement, which has served the Republican Party for quite some time.
And you're going to be still out there trying to get people to vote.
Yeah.
Are you also saying that you're worried that this will dampen enthusiasm?
I think it could. I think it would. After 40 years of having this specific language that justifies what we might do for children in California, children in Oklahoma, children in a diverse nation, some kind of minimum standard, to take that language out would be demoralizing.
How big of an enthusiasm problem might you have?
Well, I mean, we hear reports of all sorts of people saying they're not going to vote, high profile, like people out there in the pro-life movement. I would think that would be a mistake. Clearly, the contrast is still very advantageous for Trump. We cannot have a law that would wipe out every single pro-life protection in the country. But I do think it will be demoralizing, and we see evidence of that.
One last question, and
Sure.
then we got to go. Would you like any protections for IVF in the platform?
I think there's a lot of good conversation about this. I think that more fertility treatments are called for. The American public, poll after poll, shows they don't like the development of a lot of embryos just to be destroyed. So that's the conversation we're having about.
Do you want it to be part of the platform or stay out?
I think it would be fine to communicate what the Republican Party is for in the platform.
Okay, well, we're going to have you back to talk more about that. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.